Hello everyone. Today I will be painting these boxes. I purchased these boxes, I believe, from Michael's, and they were pretty affordable, and you can tell by their lack of quality. They're not terrible, but not as much as I'd like if I was going to be perhaps selling these, but it's just a simple gift for my groomsmen. So I have these here boxes, and I'm going to be painting them or staining them with this dark walnut 2716 wood finish penetrating stain. This is actually a rather dark stain. Actually looks much darker than it does on the can. The instructions say to stain in the direction of the grain. Let it sit for, I believe, 4 to 6 hours. And you can add multiple coats if you want it darker. I'm just going to put on one. And as a disclaimer, I am not a professional. I'm going to be getting stain everywhere, and it's going to be very messy. And this is the cheap little brush I'll be using. It's got some stain left over in it because I've used this brush before on a couple other projects. And as you can see, there's stain all over the brush because my hands get messy. And I've laid out this plastic bag to prevent my patio from getting soaked in stain. Just using my screwdriver to open it up. And it's open. And then I realized that I probably should give it a good shake. So I'll go ahead and put that lid back on and shake this nice and safe and hope I don't get it everywhere. And it looks like we're good. So go ahead and reopen this with the screwdriver again. There we are. And grab my brush and we can get to work. Now, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and speed it up some, just so that you don't have to sit there and watch me suffer through this. Actually, I'll wait until I finish this box, just so you can see how I'm going to do it. And I'm just going to start with the inside. I'm going to get stain everywhere. As you probably can already tell, I'm not very great at doing against the grain all over the place. I'm just trying to spread out the big pool of stain that I ended up making in the start. Grabbing a little bit more, wiping it off on the edge, wiping off some of the excess, and paint it right in. Now, everything in this box is going to be purchased from Etsy. I went to a couple of buyers and purchased the things I wanted. There were some options for boxes like pre-made, but I didn't really like the options, and they seemed a bit expensive, and figured I could do better myself. And you'll see the final product, and I think I did a pretty decent job. And here we're just painting the inside wall. This stain is rather sticky, so after it ends up all over my hands, it makes my hands real sticky, and washing off stain is actually rather difficult. It's really tacky and doesn't come off very easily with regular soap. With some good scrubbing it works, but it does take some time. Scrubbing a bit more, painting the other wall. Get those corners. And up the side rim. Now you'll notice that I'm getting stain all over the hinges and some of the gold bits, which I do clean off the latch hinges themselves. But these hinges I'm not terribly worried about. They're not going to be seen. And in all honesty, I don't expect my groomsmen to keep these boxes forever. I'm just kind of wiping off the excess paint I have into the bottom of the box. As you can tell, this stain is rather dark. When compared to the original wood color, it almost looks black. In person, it does look a little more brown, but the stain is significantly more dark than it looked like on the can. Here I'm just beginning the process of putting finger on my finger. As you can see, it's already there. And I'm just painting the lid now. You'll see me spattering paint or stain all over the place. Just kind of willy-nilly getting in there. Getting stain all over it. Now on this side, it does appear that the stain, when used lightly, does look more like a brown. So it's very possible that I'm just using way too much. But hey, I feel like it's better to make things by hand than to, just buy them. But that's me. If you feel more comfortable purchasing your gifts instead of making things, that's totally valid. I just have a creative spirit and a thrifty spirit. I love to try and make things before I buy them. Just to save me some money, and in the end, I feel better about it if it turns out good. Just get the rim of the lid. Now, when these boxes were assembled, I think they used a bit of glue, wood glue here and there, and there are certain spots that, due to this wood glue dripping onto it, it's physically impossible to stain just because it's already, I guess you could say, stained by the wood glue. That just prevents the stain from soaking in. It's not terribly common on the inside, but around those straps, I guess you could say, like the frame, you might see some parts of the box that just don't take in the stain. And now I'm going to go ahead and speed up the video as I paint the second and third boxes, just their insides. And for these next two boxes, it's the same process. Just painting the insides, starting with the bottom. If I was to do this again, perhaps for a friend, I definitely would consider either purchasing a higher quality box or even making one myself. I'm not much of a carpenter, but I always like to try new things. You can see the bottom of this box has an imperfection. I wasn't quite sure what that was. Just an imperfection in the wood made a little bump. I guess you could call this a speed paint. I'll be here all week. And as you can see, the plastic beneath my creation is already beginning to gain quite some stain. But by the end of this, you'll see that my hands are also covered. And if you are an expert and this is deeply offending you, I am very sorry. But at the same time, why are you watching? I believe this box actually looks a little bit better. It looks more brown than it does black, like the previous one. Perhaps I used a little bit less. He says, splattering stain onto the sidewall. I would be very interested in perhaps creating my own boxes, but I don't really have the tools nor the space. This patio area I'm working on the area isn't much bigger than what you see. It's about twice as big as what you see now. It goes over to the left some, where we have a nice little patio table out and a couple of chairs, where our cat Lucy spends most of her days just chilling outside in the sun. But if I was to do anything, any big projects, there would not be nearly enough space. Finishing up on the third box, and then we'll be moving on to the outsides, which is a bit more interesting due to the appearance of what look like different boards. There we are. It's the third box of the inside done, and we'll go back to the first and move all of those down. We're back to normal speed now. And we're going to go ahead and paint the outside of the first box. Now, I definitely could have handled this a bit better, especially with the metal corners. Because after staining, I discovered that the metal corners were quite sticky, just due to the fact that the stain had, kind of semi-dried. This was definitely a fun project, just playing with paint and then assembling a cute little gift. The assembly will come shortly. Our apartment is somewhat Darkwood themed. If we had the money for it, we'd probably have most of the furniture in our house a espresso or dark color, just because I think it makes the house feel a little more cozy, a little darker and cozy, and it looks kind of classy. Oh, look at my poor hands. Look at that poor plastic bag. Oh goodness. It's got stain all over it. I promise I was trying to avoid the corners of the box sometimes. Moving on to the back. It does look significantly darker before it's kind of soaked into the wood. Once the wood has taken in the stain, it does look more of a brown, just a dark brown instead of a black. And it definitely makes the box look sturdier than it actually is. The dark wood makes it look fantastic. Unfortunately, the build quality of each individual box was a little bit different than the last. Some of them, the hinges and the locks didn't quite fit, so you kind of had to force them into place. Or perhaps the screw was loose, or perhaps one of the corners, like the corner metal brackets, were loose. But how much can you expect for a $5.99 box from Michaels? It did its job, though. Looks nice. At least, not upon close inspection. Pardon the noise. That was actually an ice maker we have in the house. And now we're moving on to the bottom. This video is actually created in a voiceover, mainly due to the fact that I just couldn't control the outdoor sounds. So I think it'd be a neat effect to try and mix this stain with some sort of theme. Make it look like the boat is all old and scratched up, perhaps. Or just aged. But that's not really the plan for this project. It was just to give it a nice stain to make it look nice. And if I had any common sense about me, I would probably follow this staining up with a matte coat, of like a clear matte coat. There we are, there's the first box. And as I begin on the second and then the third, I'll go ahead and speed up the video again. As you can see, there was actually some splattering spots from the previous box being painted. Stained, excuse me. I gotta use my proper grammar. As I was saying, if I was to follow this staining up with perhaps a matte gloss, or excuse me, a clear matte or a clear gloss, I think it would add a lot and would definitely protect the box a bit better. We'll give it another layer of authenticity, if you will, professionalism. And as you can see, I'm getting stain all over the latch, which I clean up outside of the video. I just took a paper towel, wiped it off very nicely. Perhaps this video would inspire you to do a little creativity of your own. I think it's always fun to do a little art project for your friends and family, or even yourself. That's just me showing off my messy hands. At this point, I kind of accepted my fate, that my hands were going to be a mess. Just went with it. I think my fingers might be doing more of the painting than the brushes at this point. I think I'll definitely be leaving some little bookmarks in the comments. Just so that folks can skip to the next section if they find this boring. I honestly don't have a whole lot to talk about in these sort of sections. Just me painting a box for the third time. But soon enough we'll be moving on to decorating the inside. Now we're painting the bottom of the last box. And there we are, the final box, or third. And my hands are an absolute nightmare. But that's the fun of it. I'll go ahead and seal my can again, just to make sure I don't spill it. And I'll go wash my poor hands. And here we have the finished, painted, stained product. It does look much more like a brown than a black once it has dried. This is about 10 to 15 minutes after painting, staining. And at this point, my fiance decided she wanted help. And admittedly, we were too impatient to let them sit for 4 to 6 hours. So we decided we'd go ahead and start putting stuff into them. We'd found this idea on Etsy and went ahead and copied it, but changed it. Brought some nice brown construction paper and printed on a cute little message saying, "I mustache you a question." And depending on who it's for, it'll say, "Will you be my groomsman?" or "Will you be my best man?" And the reply is a picture with a mustache that's provided in the box, which we'll be taping in here soon. So essentially, they'll receive the box and the mustache, and in order to accept, being my groomsman or my best man, they put on the fake mustache, take a photo, and send it to me. Here we're just grabbing some tape, and you'll notice that my fiance is wearing some gloves because she obviously didn't want to get any stain on her fingers. And that's the mustache we picked out for this individual. Cute little, I'd say it's one of the cowboy mustaches. Well, they're all cowboy mustaches, if you think about it, right? The upturned mustache. And we're just going to go ahead and tape that in there. We're just admiring our work, and we thought it turned out pretty well. My original plan was actually to burn in the question, but we found some fun fonts to use. And it was going to be much easier to just print it onto the paper. And there she is wiping off her fingers because she got stain on them. Surprise, surprise. And I went ahead and sped up the footage. Here we're just kind of laying out how we're gonna put it in there. We'd figured it out earlier, and at this point we were like, oh, it's too wet inside to put the objects in, so we went ahead and decided that we were gonna wait. So we grabbed the next box and went ahead and taped in the note, or excuse me, we hot glued the note in. This is the best man one. And we gave my best man, let's see what mustache we gave him. There's tape and a cute little handlebar mustache. There we are. Will you be my best man? And for the third box, you notice on the back of this card, you can see some of another card. That's just because we were testing. We had very limited paper. And there's the tape. Oh, got your finger stuck. There we go. And the mustache. Fun. There we are. And about a day after this, not the next day, but the day after the next, I went ahead and filled the boxes myself. I'm going to go ahead and lay everything out. We have some suspenders, a nice watch. We have a cute little bow tie that matches the suspenders, and a pair of socks. You notice the box has some hair on them, courtesy of our cat Lucy. Everything fits quite nicely, with the socks going in first, followed by the bow tie propped up against the socks. And then we take out the watch and actually wrap it around the suspenders. And one of the reasons we glued the card to the lid is so that it would protect the face of the watch. Went ahead and tightened the watch onto the suspenders and placed it inside the box. We're pretty proud of how this looks. I think it looks quite nice. Go ahead and turn around and show you. Or not. And I'll go ahead and fill the other two. Box, watch, suspenders, bow tie, and socks. Socks in first, followed by the bow tie. Take out the watch. Wrap them around the suspenders. And place it into the box. Into the box. The box. I was having some difficulty with the strap there. There we are, nice and snug. A bit of cat hair. Pull some of that off. And for the final box, watch, suspenders, bow tie, camera, socks, excuse me. Cameron is, of course, one of my groomsmen. The bow tie in there, take out his watch, tie it, or place it securely around the suspenders. Oh, and there's the ice machine again. Close that box. Let's see how it looks if you were to open it. Isn't that neat? I must ask you a question. Well, now that that little project is over with, I hope you've enjoyed. And if you're asleep by now, then I've done my job. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.